Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about AT&T and the recent reports that have came out from third-party testings. And a lot of them are starting to say that AT&T has the best US wireless network. Now, I know by opinion, a lot of you are going to say, well, that's not the case in my area or the case in the areas that I travel, work, and play. But the GSW report that you see here, Ookla is saying they're the fastest. Tutela said that AT&T is growing at an intense pace. At one of the conferences recently, AT&T CEO went up on the stand and said that he hasn't seen such activity in 38 years in the wireless industry. Now, a lot of people are asking, why is this happening now at AT&T? They have been such a huge company all these years in terms of money and funding that was available to them for the network. Well, for one, of course, as many of you know, that Time Warner merger threw everything off. That was a huge investment. Why they did that, I don't know, but just, not even half of that money could have went into the wireless network, and they could have made that their main driver for growth in the future. Instead, they risked losing customers. And of course, they did so in very large amounts. If you guys remember the quarterly reports, by the way, we are going on 4 years now on the channel. So on quarterly reports, if you guys remember in the past, AT&T was losing thousands and thousands of customers. I mean, we're talking 200,000-300,000 a quarter, if you guys remember. Now on the wireless side, they're a bit more aggressive. The network is getting better. So we're starting to see a gain, and AT&T is predicted to gain again this quarter on the wireless side. But as many of you now know, on the traditional TV side, they're not going to lose millions of customers. They have done so pretty much every quarter, and going into Q4 and next year, they're predicted to lose millions and millions and more customers. So the reasoning I think that this really has happened, it's sad to say, but this FirstNet contract and the obligation to hit milestones to get that reimbursement for the government is the real driver to why AT&T is really pushing the network the way they are, in my opinion. In 2015, 16, and 2017, a lot of people were skeptic of AT&T and the wireless side because they just weren't investing enough and expanding the network to the growth that they are doing today. There were instances, a lot of places where T-Mobile was pushing contracts because their wireless side was their main driver. They were pushing contracts to expand networks. So a lot of people were starting to see areas that still only had HSPA for AT&T, and T-Mobile was starting to push LTE in a lot of these areas. And that threw people really off because they were like, how is this bigger company going to have lesser technology out in the wild while T-Mobile is expanding aggressively and pushing LTE to these areas? But now, in just this short of a period, starting in 17, the vendors had a bit of a shortage. They couldn't push out as much equipment. So early on, when the FirstNet contract was launched, AT&T wasn't up to par in terms of the rollout. But now over time, they're investing more, and the vendors are more up to par with delivering the equipment. So now AT&T is furiously rolling out. I can't stress this enough. They're rolling it out so fast at this point that the crowdsourced coverage maps are not able to keep up from the info that I'm getting. There's a lot of new expansion. The Nebraska I-80 is getting filled in. They didn't have low band there. Currently, people are mapping it on Cell Mapper, but they're mapping it without a band 14 phone. So the other bands are showing up band 2, band 30, band 4, but band 14 is not popping up because that phone is not capable of that band. But with the band 14, the HPUE that'll be associated with band 14 is going to push that coverage much, much further than what it can currently do. So all I want to say in this video really is just keep an eye on AT&T, and of course I will report on it. But I want to say keep a much closer eye, because there was a point, again, as I mentioned, that there was a stop and go for AT&T. So they would invest a little and then they would stop. Invest a little and they would stop. Some are predicting this to happen again once they fulfill that FirstNet contract. Then is AT&T going to stop? Who knows? But I think from now on, if they want to maintain that contract and they want to maintain the perception to, hey, we do have that best network, now is really go time for AT&T. They can't let up at this point. If they let up, they would allow Verizon to potentially even pull further ahead and potentially pull that contract from FirstNet. Again, as I mentioned in one of my other videos, why am I going to be with a company that has a smaller network for a first responders network where they need to have networks wherever the emergency is at? So like I said, keep a close eye on AT&T. Just keep all of that info in mind that AT&T is now pushing it faster and harder than they've ever done as a company. Like the CEO said, he hasn't seen activity like this in 38 years. Also, just keep in mind with the 5GE, a lot of people are calling it BS, whatever the case may be. Essentially, it is BS because it is an LTE advanced technology. But there are now reports coming out that T-Mobile and maybe even Sprint are using LTE backhaul when they're, the LTE core while the phone is displaying 5G. So it's essentially the same thing that AT&T is doing, but I think AT&T is doing it in a much better way. Displaying the 5GE stands for 5G evolution. So what we're rolling out essentially is LTE advanced, but this is the evolution towards 5G. Also keep in mind, I've seen a few people ask this question, why my area hasn't received 5GE yet. Just keep in mind, AT&T has to reach a goal of 75% of upgrades completed within an area that must support the technologies that AT&T feels comfortable with launching the 5GE. And those consist of 4x4 MIMO, 256 QAM. I believe it consists of 400 to 500 Mbps backhaul provisioned, and that has to be on 75% sites within the market for this to be launched. So some markets are bigger, they have more sites. So AT&T is furiously working to get those sites upgraded by the end of year to get this nationwide. But again, there may be a small delay here or there in certain markets. But again, that is definitely market dependent. But I am seeing the logo in a lot of markets, and people are reporting that in those areas, they're seeing faster speeds. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Lots more content coming. I just wanted to make this video. A lot of people had asked, am I confident in AT&T going forward? And the short answer is yes. They have the best spectrum portfolio. They have the best low band spectrum portfolio. So just keep all of that in mind as you make your wireless choice in the future. Maybe you're planning on switching, or maybe you're moving away from AT&T and are looking to stay or finding any reason to stay. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Lots more content coming like this. Also, make sure to follow all of my social media outlets for more updates. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload content. And this is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.